This is Inspiring Creativity, and today's Bible verse is Galatians 6:9. This is going to be what inspires our painting or our drawing or whatever it is that you would like to do in your art journal. The verse says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." So don't give up. We're going to reap that harvest. Thank you, Sherry, for saying we're all okay. Yeah, we're really glad we're all okay too. So the concept of harvest kind of combined with, I've had tomatoes on my mind because I planted my garden and I planted Amish paste tomatoes, and then my mom and dad who live with us wanted the more yellow tomatoes because they're less acidic. So I had tomatoes on my mind. And I thought, well, let's do a painting of a tomato, and let's use that tomato as kind of a mini acrylic painting lesson. And I'm just gonna go ahead and use craft paints. They're inexpensive, they're quick, they're right here. But you can use whatever you have on hand, and you can embellish your page however you want. You don't have to do a tomato if you don't want. Whatever kind of reminds you of this verse. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So harvest, that could be anything. So I have gone ahead and I've traced the tomato, and I have a tracer in the group for you as well if you would like that. And I'm not sure exactly what else I'm going to add to this page, if anything. I might just have this lovely little tomato, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to paint it with shadow and with highlights and just keep it as a little simple study. So let's go ahead and get you up above so we can have a bird's eye view. All right, let's get this clipped in here. Hopefully it'll work. Okay, I think it's working. So here's, again, the traced tomato. And I pulled several reds because I'm not sure which one I want to use. And they're all like very cheap paint, Craft Smart paint, Apple Barrel. This one's an Apple Barrel. I have bright red, I have flag red, and I have red rouge. And I think I'm gonna put some red rouge on the plate. So I'm just using an old plate. And so that rouge red looks pretty good, but I'm also gonna put some flag red right next to it. And oh yeah, that's definitely brighter. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. And then I'm going to put a little bit of yellow. This is just golden yellow on my plate. Just a little bit. And then I have this folk art burnt umber. It's a brand new one. I haven't opened this one yet, so hopefully it doesn't need to be, oh, yep, it does need to be. Gotta shake that a little bit more. Goodness. Hopefully that did the trick. Let's see. Well, that did not do the trick. All right, that's okay. I got enough out. And I've got greens, I've got Kelly green. So I'm just gonna put all the paints out on my plate. I'm gonna put just a little bit of this marsh green. It's a little bit of a different shade. And yeah. And I've already gotten water on the page here. Okay, let's see. I've got my brown, my greens, my yellow, and my reds. And I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of white. So just kind of prepping my plate here. If I can get the white to come out. I really don't need very much white at this time. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put more white because I'm going to do like a mixture with the brown to come up with a cream for the background. But let's start. Let's pick a brush, first of all. That's always good. Pick a brush, any brush. Okay, we'll just dip right in here to this bright red. And I'm just gonna get this first layer on here. And I'm just gonna kind of paint around the little leaves and just get this tomato shape going. And I'm not gonna be super duper careful because I can paint around, I can paint over, I should say. Paint over any oopsies. Okay, so I'm kind of mixing paints here. Let's get this one up here and get the little side of the tomato here. And I'm just gonna pull that red kind of around there. I did go over the leaf there, but that's okay. All right, now that this is still wet, I kind of want to go in and add a little bit of that brown. So I'm just going to take the tiniest bit of that brown and I'm going to mix that. And that's really nice and dark, but because this is wet, I'm going to go ahead and use it the way it is. And I'm going to kind of just put the shadows in. So I want to get that dark brown down around here. And I'm pretending that my light source is kind of coming from above. Okay, let's get the one side kind of really nice and brown. And then this one won't go quite up as high. I am going to pull a little bit of that darker color kind of around here. Now let's go back into our red and just soften that up on this side a little bit. And then I'm going to go right into my yellow again while it is wet. Actually, you know what? I'm going to rinse the brush. I'm going to get the brown out of my brush completely. Let's start again. Let's come over here with our yellow and our red. And I'm going to get that kind of lighter orangey color. And we're just going to pull that lighter and maybe not quite light enough. So let's just go straight into the yellow. And let's pull that up and kind of around. There's some definite highlights up here. And I'm going to pull that all the way around, kind of making a little rounded ball right in the center of that. And then I'm going to pull, where did that go? There it is. I'm going to pull some of that up here. So pulling that lighter shade that I mixed right up there on the top, kind of pulling it on top of that edge and letting that kind of feather in there a bit. Okay, then I'm going to go in and I might even add a tiny bit of white to that. And I'm just going to kind of put some real strong highlights with that. And it might dry darker, so I may come back in and put highlights in when it's dry. Let's really get a little bit brighter in these few little spots. Okay. And then I'm going to pull a little bit more red back in. And I'm going to kind of soften that a little. All right, I'm just gonna let it be like that for right now. I'm gonna switch gears and go over to my leaves. So let's grab a little bit of this brown, just plain brown. And I'm just gonna pull a little bit of that darkness in where that stem is. And let's just give that little stem a little bit of a brown layer. Okay, and then I'm gonna rinse my brush. And I'm gonna grab a smaller brush, I think. Let's see, now I'm gonna grab a different smaller brush. Let's grab this one, this little guy. And I'm gonna come right into that marsh green first. And I'm just gonna see how am I liking that. I like it for a dark under layer. So that leaf kind of comes right up next to that stem. Same with this one. Let's just get these leaves in here. And I'm going to come over the top of this green with a different green. Just getting that marsh green in there first. Coming right up to that stem. Pulling that right up to the stem as well. And this one, there's some red that got into the stem. So it's probably gonna pull that red in. Maybe not, maybe it had dried enough. But I'm going right up to that stem. And this one, I covered over with paint. So I'm gonna have to do probably several layers there. And then the green, I'm gonna pull that around over that brown. And I'm gonna put some green into the stem. I'm gonna grab, let's grab the lighter green and just kind of hit the top of that stem and the side of that stem. And then I'm gonna come back in with my brown later. But let's get a little bit of the yellow and add it. Let's see how, I'm gonna play around with adding yellow highlights. So let's see how I like just adding a little hit of yellow as a highlight on these leaves. Kind of like it. I'm gonna pull some of that right into this leaf as well. And this one. Let's grab a little bit more yellow and we'll hit this leaf and we'll hit the top of that one too. Kind of pull it right down in there. Then I'm going to go back into my brown and I'm just going to pull that brown. I'm going to also grab some yellow and let's mix all of that together. Kind of a little bit of a lighter brown, just to give that little area down there so that it's not quite so dark. Okay, I'm gonna grab just straight brown again and pull that back into the stem. And I'm gonna let that dry. And I'll come back and I'll hit the top of that stem with some highlights later, but it's really wet. It's a blob of wet paint. Then kind of what I'm thinking I'd like to do now is my background. So which brush do I want to use? I think I'll stick with this one actually because I'm not going to do much with the background. So let's just grab a little bit of this brown and make a cream color. And I am just going to pull that cream color right around this tomato. And I'm just going to pull it out to the side because I'm going to have this whole background be this color. Just taking away some of the stark white of the paper. Okay, let's cover this area here. And I don't even have to go all the way out to the edge of the page. I will probably go ahead and make this a small painting in maybe just kind of in the center of the page, not worrying about covering the whole entire paper. Okay, so I'm just going to grab more and more of this color and pull that in kind of quick. And then as I get closer to the tomato, I'm going to kind of slow down. All right, let's see. Let's get some more of that paint right up next to that tomato. Okay, now that I've got some of that creamy color here, I'm going to go back into my brown and mix quite a bit of brown with that white. Get kind of a nice dark. I might even take a tiny hit of yellow and just warm that up a little bit. And then I'm just going to kind of put a little shadow just kind of right under that tomato. And I'll pull it out kind of in a little bit of a rounded shape. Okay, so there's a little shadow for our tomato. And now I'm going to rinse that off and start over. I'm going to go back into my white and I'm going to mix it with that little bit of brown that's there, because now I want to soften a little bit. I want to just soften that edge up. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and mix it, blend it. That's the word I'm looking for. Just blend it right in. So I don't have such a hard edge. And I can come back with my red and clean that up a little bit. But I do want to get some more of that creamy color going up here. I do need to pull it up. I think I'm going to pull it all the way up. Whoops, that's really brown. So I'm just going to grab a ton of white now and pull that white right into it. Okay, now I want to slow it down and come in here and get right around these leaves. And I might not actually take too much time with this. I might go ahead and not worry about covering the leaves because I can paint over them. That's the beauty of acrylics. I think that's probably one reason why I like acrylics so much, is the ability to let them dry and then you can paint right over the top. You can fix things, you can just keep adding more and more layers to things, and that layered effect is really nice. and then you can fix things. So, okay, now I'm gonna go clean up my tomato. So let's really rinse the brush. Bought some tomatoes on the vine today. Yum, Sherry. Okay, so let's see here. I need to get my dark red, which is kind of already drying out. Let's put a little bit of brown. Oops, not that much brown, just a little bit of brown. Okay, and then I'm gonna come right in here and just clean that edge up. Pull that edge in again. And then I'm gonna rinse that out, and I'm just gonna go straight into my straight red and just clean that up right there. Okay. And next I'm gonna grab that small brush, gonna grab a little bit of yellow, a little bit of this Kelly green, and I'm gonna hit the top of this stem with that really light colored thing. And let's pull that light color right on top of that brown. And then I'm just gonna go straight in and clean up my leaves. And I'm kind of going back and forth between the marsh green again and the more yellowy green. So let's pull some yellowy green right on top of this. And give a little hit of that yellowy green to that leaf. Maybe even this one. And I'm gonna have to differentiate that stem. I'm gonna have to pull that stem forward. All right. First though, I want to get these leaves back in here. I'm going to grab some of that marsh green to darken that one up a little bit. And pull that around here. Okay, now we're going to go back into my brown. And I'm going to just hit that stem, if I can, with a little stripe of that brown. And maybe even kind of a little line, if I can get the brown to actually come off my brush. Little line there, just to indicate that. And then I'm going to hit it with some yellow and some green mixed together. And I think I'm going to hit this one side of this stem with that lighter green. Okay. And that is, I think I need a little more green to make that contrast stand out a little bit more. Right there. Okay. I think I am going to look at that and say, that is good for my tomato. I'm going to go ahead and pull that creamy color up higher. So let's just throw some more of that cream up here, up top. And the reason why is I am going to write my Bible verse up here. Okay, so now we're just going to pull that all. I should have gotten out a bigger brush so that I would get more coverage more quickly. But I don't want to pull out another brush. I'm just going to use what I have. Okay, let's take a peek. How am I liking that? I'm pulling more white in to that. It was getting a little dark up here. And I don't want the darkness up at the top. I want the darkness down at the bottom of the page. And I'm just kind of letting some of the streaks of the paintbrush kind of shine through there. And let's put a little bit more on the side. I need to grab some more white. All right. Let's see, how am I doing? I'm running out of white. My red ran right in to my white paint. Yes, it did. It did, it did. Whoops. Hey, that's kind of cool. See that little tiny tinge of red that showed up? I kind of like that. Let's see. Let's see what happens if I just kind of put like a little hit of that red. Like just in a few spots, just to kind of, almost like the red is kind of hitting the surface under this tomato. Yeah, good enough. Okay, so next what I will do, I'm going to cut the page off about right there. And so I'm going to have the Bible verse up here. And I will probably use my handy dandy gold, because I'm loving my gold pens. This one's awful skinny. I'm going to pull out my fatter one. Where'd it go? All right, here it is. And since I'm cutting it off down here, I'm going to give a practice run just to see. So I'm just going to do my name. I think that this gold pen will work very well for this, but I definitely want it to be dry. And let's see how long this verse is. I think I can probably get it done in 2, maybe 3, and I can put the Galatians 6:9 reference here, or I could even write that down here. But yeah, I definitely want this to be totally dry so it doesn't mess up my gold marker. But that is it. That is the painting for today. It's kind of a combination of an art journaling page and kind of experiencing some with acrylics here too. So hopefully you will go out and be inspired to paint your own tomato. And I'd love to see them. And if you want to do an art journaling page and put the verse somewhere, or you could even embellish it. I was even thinking, in fact, let me show you this. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to show you. I just love some of these stencils, especially this one with the leaves. You could literally kind of paint some of that around. In fact, that might actually be something that I do. Might put a little bit of green paint on this and just hit it in a couple of spots. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see how the spirit moves later. All right, let's get this camera down here. And I'll give you just a little bit more of a close-up there. And then flip it. Okay. Thank you very much for watching, Sherry. I'm glad that you were here. Have yourself a wonderful Friday. And go eat a tomato. Go paint a tomato. All right. Bye-bye. Take care.